Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
He is Dr. Austin Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, joining us here this morning. How you doing this morning, Austin?
I'm doing great.
That a boy. Hey, let's start off with a little baseball. So obviously a lot of Brewers fans were kind of holding their breath and such after seeing Brandon Woodruff get nailed in the elbow with a 108-mile-an-hour comebacker. And, I mean, this is a guy that's gone through the shoulder injury that you and I have talked about a lot, you know, ankle injury that set it back, and now this is another setback. Now, the Brewers are saying he avoided, anything major. It's just that contusion. What would have been some other possible major injuries, though, that could have happened to Brandon Woodruff with a hit like that?
Well, you know, the obvious one would be a break, right? So that's the interesting thing about, like, a direct impact like this. Usually it's either going to be on all or nothing. So you're going to take a hit and you're either going to break a bone or it's going to be a bad contusion. Now, not to say that doesn't hurt. I mean, I'm sure that smarted pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine being a pitcher and having a line drive come back right. I mean, reaction time is like, you know, bam, it's there, right? So, but if you look at the actual injuries from direct blows like that, it's really, I mean, because I see a fair amount of that in clinic. They come in and eat an X-ray, and if the X-ray is negative, you're basically like, look, it's going to be a contusion, and it should go away. Now, there is kind of two different patterns of contusions. There's a traditional soft tissue bruise, right? We all know those. You get hit, turns black and blue, hurts for a little bit. You can take it one step further and get what we call bony contusion, where you actually have an impact on the bone, and the bone itself is bruised. So even though the mechanism is the same, it comes from a direct blow. When the bone is bruised, it really takes a lot longer for that to go away and heal. We tend to see that more with actual injuries as opposed to impacts, but you can get them in that mechanism as well. But those certainly will take weeks, even months sometimes, to fully recover from a really bad bone bruise. So really that's all you'd be looking at is, you know, a fracture or bony contusion, and then kind of regular soft tissue contusion. That's kind of the severity scale from top to bottom.
That bone contusion, would that have been what Giannis suffered with that knee injury a couple of years ago? I think
exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And that's very common with knee injuries like that, like a hyperextension, twisting injury. And, I mean, he bounced back amazingly fast from that. I mean, we all remember that. So, and people don't always. I mean, there are times where we have patients on crutches for a month with a bad bone bruise. So, yeah, it was pretty phenomenal to see him bounce back from that.
It almost sounds like the name doesn't do that injury justice, because it's like bone bruise. It's just a bruise. Why is the guy out? So it almost seems like it should sound like it should be more major. You know,
you are absolutely correct. I mean, that's something I tell patients a lot when they have one, because they'll come in, you know, they think they have a real severe knee injury. We get an MRI, and I'm like, and often I'll say, like, what we're hoping is this is a bone bruise. I mean, because it's usually that, or it's going to be a significant ligamentous injury. I mean, it'll mimic it. I mean, the knee can be swollen, it can be pain. And obviously, we're talking about knees here, but like whatever joint, but in this case, a knee. So it'll be swollen, painful after an injury. You're like, look, we're hoping this is a bone bruise because that's going to heal on its own. And you get it, and that's the good news. You tell them that, and they're like, but they look at you, they say, you don't understand. Like, this really hurts. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I mean, this is a bad injury. Really, it's a precursor to a fracture. I mean, it's like if you look on a scale, it's like as you work your way up, it's you know, like you have the bones kind of hit each other. There's a little ache. That's one thing. Then you hit it hard enough where you actually cause structural, like micro damage to the bone, and on the MRI it'll light up. I mean, you'll see a bone bruise on an MRI. It's this big glowing white spot, and that's really, I mean, you take it one step further and you now have a fracture. So really, the name definitely underplays it. So it's one of those things that you tell a patient, like, even though it's, quote, just a bruise, I mean, these things can be quite debilitating.
Staying with pitchers, and a former Brewer pitcher, Corbin Burns, a few days ago, he had to leave the game early because he felt some tightness in his elbow, and I think there was even some lip readers out there saying that he said his elbow is just done or it's gone or something like that. So he went through, got an opinion. He's on the 15-day IL, but apparently he's getting a second opinion, and that second opinion is from a doctor that you've mentioned many times, Neil Atrash. Is that how you pronounce his last name in Los Angeles?
Elatrash.
Elatrash, okay. Elatrash. So obviously we've heard that name when it comes to Achilles and that, but I mean, when you get a second opinion from this, everybody's thinking Tommy John at this point. So, I mean, is that kind of what you're maybe thinking is that's why he's getting a second opinion, is maybe it affects the Tommy John ligament in his elbow?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, with the pitcher, I mean, you can almost just guess that, and you're probably right no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, it's when it comes to the elbow. So, I mean, really, it's such a tricky thing. I mean, let's compare it to another well-known ligament, the ACL in the knee. So, I mean, with the ACL, it tends to be really binary. You injure your knee, you come in, we get the MRI, and you either tore your ACL or you didn't. And that's really often the way it is. I mean, there are the subtle partial tears that we get occasionally, and that is rare. Now, the UCL, aka the Tommy John ligament in the elbow, is very, very different. You can get acute full-thickness tears, and those are ones where the pitcher's throwing feels the pop, the elbow swells. We get the MRI, see a full-thickness tear. Okay, now we have our answer. But a lot of these injuries are attritional. So it's not that it's one single pitch that does it. It's the repetition. It's the micro trauma over and over and over, and they get basically an attritional tear. So on the MRI, you may even see fibers that are still there, but it doesn't functionally stabilize the elbow anymore, and it's not able to handle the stresses that they put on it. But the thing is, like, it's daily life. It's not an issue. It's just that pitching motion because it's such an extreme rotational force at the elbow. So to this point, you get it where it's like the MRI comes back and you look at it and you say, well, your UCL's there. It's a partial tear. What do we do with that? And that's where you really kind of get into the weeds of, like, how do you manage a UCL injury in a pitcher? And you get 10 guys in a room, you're probably going to get 10 different opinions on it. And clearly he wasn't happy with the first opinion because he's getting a second opinion. And that's really common with major league players, as we know, for all sports.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Then you delve into, okay, is it a UCL injury? The answer is almost certainly going to be yes. Then you take it a step further and say, well, do we treat it with rehab? So going on the injured reserve for a little bit, rehab it for a while and see where it goes. Do you talk about doing a full Tommy John? Or now there's this internal brace procedure that we're doing. So there's essentially a UCL repair as opposed to reconstruction. So that's this new, like, middle ground where it has a much faster recovery than a full standard Tommy John. Is that the route to go? So it's added this extra wrinkle of how we treat these. And so my guess is that's where the debate lies. Is it's going to be either a full reconstruction versus a repair, or some guys are doing both, the belt and suspenders. So doing the Tommy John reconstruction and then adding that internal brace with it. So obviously that's guesswork, but I would tell you we're probably pretty close to the truth on that one. This
might be a stupid question, but you just kind of mentioned the brace. And when I was thinking about this doctor, and we were talking about him a lot with Achilles, is that like a similar brace approach that we talked about with his Achilles approach with like Aaron Rodgers and such, and with the Tommy John surgery?
Yeah, it's the same company's device. So it's really, we use that term, and I'm sure they love it because it's like a proprietary name. So it's like saying, a Band-Aid, right? That's an actual brand, or Kleenex is a brand, right? So the same thing, the internal brace. So yes, that's Arthrex is the name of the company. So they're repairing the Achilles, that brace. Same exact idea from the same company, is that they're adding anchors into the bone with suture to augment or strengthen the repair that they're doing. So yes, it's the same exact concept, same idea.
Gotcha. Switching over to football here. So Kenny Clark, Packers defensive lineman, revealed this week that he actually had surgery in January, foot surgery, because he injured his toe week 1 in Brazil on the surface. And again, you have another player just kind of blaming the surface on that too. But he said he was also dealing with bone spurs and bunions in it. He said his toe got caught up in the turf. Now, when I first heard that, I thought turf toe, and I know that's something you've had and you've talked about too. But he said bone spurs and bunions in there too. I mean, could they be related on there? I mean, he's still recovering from this surgery. He's not quite 100% yet. So, I mean, is that a typical timeline with everything? If he had that in January?
Yeah. I'd say this almost certainly is a turf toe injury. Now, turf toe injuries, classically, it's where the foot, I mean, as you put it, it gets stuck in the turf, and that's where the name came from. Is when it was AstroTurf, which is, let's just basically call it green carpet, right? I mean, they played on those surfaces; they were just brutal. I don't know if anyone out there played on it. I played on some, and it is not fun to play on, but it's really sticky, right? So your foot gets stuck, and the weight comes forward, and you hyperextend or dorsiflex that toe, and it rips the structures on the bottom. We call it the plantar plate. So the plantar plate of that great toe big joint gets ripped, and And so if it's a severe enough rip, it's a complete tear, then it can be unstable and it's very hard to rehab those. But if in addition to it coming up, it gets pushed over, we use the term valgus. So if it's a kind of dorsiflexion and a valgus force, you can tear the ligaments on the inner part and basically cause like a traumatic bunion. And of course, some people are predisposed to that anyway who have a bunion. So just so people understand what a bunion is, that's basically where that big toe joint, the toe starts to swing over. Again, we use the term valgus. So it swings over, and you create these bone spurs that go along with it. So it's basically the joint falling out of alignment, and then you get spurs associated with that. So he may have some pre-existing bunion, combine that with a turf toe injury, and that would fit exactly with what he's saying. So then what they do, they make their incision, they reconstruct the plantar plate, and they probably remove some of those spurs on the medial aspect of the foot. So I would tell you that's probably what it was, and it is not a quick recovery, and those are tough surgeries to bounce back from, but it really would fit with what his mechanism was and what he's describing.
So, I mean, he obviously had a down year last year, and I think it surprised a lot of people on, just what he was able to do. And, I mean, it was not a good season for him, especially after signing a huge contract extension. With that type of injury, does that make sense then that maybe that's why he had such a down year? Because, I mean, he played the whole year then with that type of injury.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, we talked a little bit ago about bone bruises being kind of like, oh, geez, why is that so bad? Like turf toe is the same thing. I mean, I had a turf toe injury, so I can personally tell you it's like all of your push off is limited and painful. And so, I mean, you can imagine playing in the line. I mean, that's a huge part, is like getting off the ball and exploding into the offensive lineman. I mean, that's going to be absolutely impaired. So this is the kind of injury that, even though it doesn't sound like a big deal, could have a huge impact on a player's ability. And so if he's able to bounce back from it, that certainly could really elevate his game back to where it was before. And conversely, if it doesn't heal well, I mean, this can be a career-altering injury, absolutely. And this surgery, and turf toe surgeries work well, but it is not a home run surgery either. So this is one that certainly is worth keeping your eyes on, because it's not an injury you want to see, because it's hard to treat and get people back to truly 100%, but it can work. So certainly that's what everyone is hoping for.
Yeah. I mean, the good example might be Deion, right? Deion Sanders with that turf toe.
Yeah. I mean, ended his career. I mean, it sounds like such a little thing, but like a toe, I mean, geez, just get back out there. But right. It's really, it's half of your force goes through the big toe.
Yeah.
So when you push off, half goes through it. So if you injure it, you've really altered the mechanics of the foot, and it's incredibly painful too. Every time you push off, it hurts, and so it's just hard to bounce back from that.
I gotta tell you, then, man. I mean, I was really hard on Kenny Clark and for the season that he had, and now hearing this too, it's like now I kind of feel bad, because I mean he was going through something like that throughout the whole entire season. So
yeah, I mean that happens a lot, right? I mean, these guys have these injuries that are sometimes subtle. I mean, the interesting thing is they usually are required to disclose injuries, but he might have been keeping it tight-lipped himself and not really talking to the training staff. But in either event, absolutely. I mean, you have an injury like this that can affect you and plague you all season, where it's not like you can't do anything, but it does impair it, and it does limit what you do. So absolutely. So I mean, for him, if this is really what was going on, it could really get him back to that pre-injury form. It's possible, certainly.
Interesting. Good stuff. Dr. Austin Crow, Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Dude, appreciate the time as always on every Friday. Enjoy the weekend, man, and we'll catch up with you soon, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. You take care.
You got it. Dr. Austin Crow. Awesome info right there. I mean, okay, I'll ask you, Packers fans, does it change your mindset, your opinion of Kenny Clark and the season he had last year? I think it does for me. It does for me. Now, I know there's going to be some people saying, well, then he shouldn't have played and such, which, okay. But, yeah, it sure seems like that really affected his play, and now maybe it kind of makes sense.